Over the past several years, California has experienced several large wildfires, and those have been reminders that these fires can be very damaging to our homes and also sometimes to entire communities. The good news is that over the past decade, there's also been a lot of scientific research that will help homeowners better understand how they can protect their houses. And that's what we want to talk about today with Dan Gorham. Dan, nice to see you.
Thanks, Kevin.
So you are a former firefighter, but you're also a research engineer at a nonprofit that studies this phenomenon. With all of your research, what's the sort of big takeaway about how these fires interact with our homes?
I think the biggest takeaway is to just realize that wildfires and wildland fires in general are a natural phenomenon. And it's not just in California where we see them. We see them across the continental United States, Alaska, across the world really. And the other important thing to realize is while they are natural phenomena, them burning down homes doesn't necessarily have to happen. And the number one thing that I think people visualize as what causes a wildfire to burn down a home, the big wall of flames, isn't what typically happens. And there are things that a homeowner and property owners can do to make their building and homes wildfire resistant.
So if it's not the wall of flames that's burning down most of the homes, what is burning down most of the homes?
It's a lot of the secondary ignitions, and what we think of those as the embers and firebrands that travel ahead of the fire front, the small little things that you might see coming off of a campfire but can be quite large coming off of a wildfire, can get caught in combustible materials or on combustible sidings of your home and cause that to ignite.
Okay, so if we're talking about things like embers in the air, I presume you guys are worried about materials, and probably in particular the roof is a big vulnerability if we're talking about flying embers.
The roof is always a big one. It's a big horizontal surface that's great for capturing embers, and our number one recommendation is to use a non-combustible roof material. There is a standard test method that evaluates different roofing materials for its resistance to wildfire fire exposures, class A, B, and C, where class A is the best and class C is the least resistant. And here we have a typical asphalt shingle that is a class A roof assembly, and you know it's class A because it says so right here on the packaging.
And what does class A get us generally?
Class A in the test method gives you, for the largest fire exposure that the method has, a 2-hour resistance to the fire.
And is most asphalt a class A rated roof material?
Most asphalt is, but other roof materials like wood shingles or metal roofing or tile, those also have to pass the same standard test method, but they may not be class A. They may be class B or class C.
You know, it's pretty remarkable to think of a big ember that has fallen out of the sky in a wildfire, that it can land on an asphalt roof and burn for 2 hours without penetrating the house.
Yeah, the problem typically isn't just the ember itself, it's when the ember lands into a susceptible fuel. So if we have debris like these leaves or pine needles that might accumulate either in the gutter or here in this crevice, the ember ignites that, and that's when you get the fire that creates a problem.
So that says something about maintenance as well, right? I mean, you could have a class A roof, but if it's covered in effectively kindling, you got a problem. Keep it clear, let the roof do its job.
Maintenance is always important.
All right. In terms of the side of the house, sidewalls, siding, you guys think about that?
Again, we typically want a non-combustible siding material. Common siding materials like wood siding, wood plank, or shingles, vinyl siding, those are all nominally combustible. And the problem there is if you get a fire or embers that accumulate at the bottom, the fire can spread right up and it can easily ignite the home.
So non-combustibles would be the bricks, the stuccos, block. Around here, though, we've got a lot of shingles and clapboards. What are we doing about those?
So there are alternatives on the market, and we have some samples right here. This is a fiber cement board. So it's non-combustible, but the finishing on it makes it look like a wood plank. So you get the best of both worlds.
Okay, so that's great if you're building new. I don't know if I want to take all my wooden clapboards off and replace it with fiber cement. That's a big project and a lot of cost for people to pull off clapboards and put on fiber cement.
It is. And so our number one recommendation is if you can't replace the whole siding that's combustible, replace the most vulnerable area. And that would be the lower 6 inches. So if you have a combustible siding, you can maybe remove the lower 6 inches where embers would accumulate and might cause ignition of the home. You can remove those and replace it with something non-combustible, and that can be an alternative to replacing the whole siding.
That's a good idea. In terms of the perimeter of the house, I'm thinking now bushes and shrubs and such like that. You guys thoughts on those?
A lot, and that is an important thing to, again, maintain for the home. And so we break the defensible space up into 3 zones. We have the 0 to 5 foot zone, which should be non-combustible materials. Typically, you might be wood mulch, so you see like right here. But the problem with this is ember gets caught in here. It's basically basically kindling. This is going to catch fire and cause a direct flame contact to the side of your home.
It is sort of like kindling. I never thought about it that way before. So I presume you guys prefer something like stone?
Yeah, this rock mulch you see right here, which again is pretty aesthetically pleasing, but ember gets caught in here, you're not going to have a fire problem.
No mulch, but also no bushes in that first 5 feet?
That first 5 feet should have no combustible materials. Then you get 5 to 30 feet out from the home, and that's where you want to have some ornamental vegetation. You want to have trees. We're not asking people to clear cut their whole property, but when you space those, you want to have them such that the fire won't jump from one to the other. So you want adequate spacing between those.
And then as I step out beyond 30 feet, do you guys care about out there? Are you thinking about that, or can I do whatever I want?
So we talked about the wall of flames that typically isn't what causes a home to burn, but if you have big tall trees that are really closely packed, you might have that scenario. So our recommendation is to trim those up so the fire can't get up into the crowns, and to again have some spacing there so the fire doesn't spread with such high intensity. The idea is to lower the intensity as the fire approaches.
Got it. Well, we appreciate the research you guys are doing and that you're sharing it with us, so thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks for watching. This Old House has got a video for just about every home improvement project, so be sure to check out the others. And if you like what you see, click on the subscribe button to make sure that you get our newest videos right in your feed.